Alice Taghi was known as the man with no shadow. He appeared, did what he came for, and vanished, quietly. No one knew his real surname. No one dared to ask. He was a Bosnian-born enforcer in the Dutch underworld, feared for his silence and precision. He arrived in the Netherlands during the Balkan Wars, a young refugee boy who had seen too much blood before age 10. He grew up in rough neighborhoods where survival meant strength, not compassion. By 18, Alice had joined small-time gangs to make ends meet. His first killing wasn't ordered. It was personal. A man tried to rob his mother at a local shop. Alice followed him home that night. When police found the robber's body days later, there were no witnesses, no leads, just one clean bullet wound. Alice's calmness after the murder caught attention. A local crime boss approached him, offering real money for quiet jobs. He didn't hesitate. That was the beginning of his career as a professional hitman. Even in photos, Alice never smiled. He had dead eyes, eyes that told you he didn't fear death. People around him learned quickly. If Alice was quiet, danger was near. When Ridouan Taghi's organization began expanding, Alice became one of his trusted executioners. He was perfect for Taghi's kind of business, silent, loyal, and merciless. Every hit that required absolute discretion usually went to Alice. Alice didn't just kill. He delivered messages. Bodies were left in places that meant something. A parked car near a rival's home, an alley outside a nightclub. Every scene whispered the same warning. Taghi sees everything. He preferred a silenced 9mm pistol. He claimed it sounded like rain. He would clean it himself, dismantling and reassembling it with religious care. To him, the weapon wasn't just a tool. It was an extension of his soul. Unlike most hitmen, Alice didn't work solo. He often had one lookout, usually another Balkan associate. They moved like ghosts through the night, leaving behind only empty shell casings and cold silence. One of his most infamous missions was the killing of Khalid a mid-level drug supplier who betrayed Taghi's trust. CCTV caught nothing. Witnesses heard nothing. But the message was clear. Betrayal meant erasure. To neighbors, he was a quiet man who drove an old black BMW and loved espresso. To Taghi, he was a phantom. He didn't drink, didn't party, didn't post online. He lived like a monk of death. He believed in one rule. If you speak, you die. That's why he never used phones, never met strangers, and never bragged about jobs. Even the police struggled to find his voice recordings. He barely spoke in public. In 2014, Alice led a high-profile hit near Amsterdam Zuid. The victim was a rival associate tied to Moroccan gangs. It was quick, precise, and left no trace. That killing triggered a chain of retaliations that became part of the Mocro War. Taghi didn't pay him in cash. He paid him in diamonds, gold bars, and sometimes cars. Alice hid them in a storage unit registered under a dead man's name. Strangely, Alice loved animals, especially cats. He once risked exposure by returning to a hit location just to rescue a stray kitten he'd seen there earlier. To him, animals were innocent. Humans were not. After several Amsterdam killings, he fled to Antwerp to lay low. Police surveillance confirmed sightings, but never enough proof to arrest him. Belgium became his second home and his hunting ground. Anyone who tried to betray Taghi or leave the organization mysteriously disappeared. Taghi. Investigators connected many of those disappearances to Alice. He never left bodies behind. Just silence. Dutch police tried to plant an undercover officer in Alice's circle. It failed disastrously. The agent vanished within days. His body was later found in a river. Everyone knew who did it, but no one dared to say his name. He owned an apartment in The Hague under a false name. Inside were burner phones, weapons, wigs, and passports. It looked like a spy's safe house, not a criminal's home. In Spain, Alice was seen meeting two men tied to international cocaine shipments. He wasn't just a hitman anymore. He was involved in logistics and high-level coordination. His power was growing quietly. Once, a rival crew tried to kill him in Rotterdam. They fired 6 shots into his car. Alice crawled out through the passenger door, bleeding but alive. 2 weeks later, both attackers were found dead. Those close to him said Alice never laughed, never cried. He could stare at a corpse for hours, unfazed. He had detached himself from human emotion. Completely, he respected Taghi not out of fear, but admiration. He saw him as a visionary of the streets. To Alice, Taghi wasn't a criminal. He was a leader who understood loyalty. Rumors said Alice once met with a lawyer connected to Taghi's defense network. He wanted to ensure that if anything happened to him, his family would be taken care of. No one knows if that promise was kept. Police once intercepted a phone call about a cleanup job near Utrecht. They traced it to one of Alice's contacts, but by the time they arrived, the man on the call was gone. No body, no evidence. CCTV cameras caught glimpses of him, blurred, hooded, and always moving alone. He became a myth in the police department. They called him the Shadow of Taghi. A fellow associate once tipped police about his movements. 3 days later, that informant's car exploded. It was ruled an accident. Everyone knew it wasn't. Alice discovered a tracker under his car. Instead of removing it, he used it, driving in circles around Amsterdam, misleading police for hours. He laughed for the first time in years. One hit went wrong. He shot the wrong man. Taghi was furious but forgave him. That forgiveness made Alice more loyal than ever. There were whispers that Alice had a secret relationship with a journalist who covered organized crime. She disappeared in 2018. Her case remains unsolved. When police finally issued a European warrant, Alice crossed into Germany in a stolen truck. He hid inside a shipment of fruits. Border Patrol never saw him. He spent months in a cheap Berlin motel, avoiding contact. He read books about philosophy and death. He said once, "Death is not the end. It's silence." In 2019, Alice returned to Amsterdam under a new identity. He wanted to finish something. Within weeks, 2 Taghi rivals were shot dead. One anonymous source claimed Alice recorded a message before disappearing again. In it, he admitted to more than 20 killings. The recording was never found. Spanish police raided a villa where he was supposedly staying. They found weapons, but no Alice. Only a cup of fresh coffee on the table. Still warm. Interpol opened a file on him under 3 aliases. But each trail ended in silence. He had erased himself completely from every database. Rumor has it Taghi sent him on one final mission, to eliminate a witness. That witness never testified. Days later, Alice vanished for good. In 2022, Dutch police found a hidden bunker in The Hague. Inside were photos, passports, and one gun with his fingerprints. It was the first solid proof he had ever existed. To younger criminals, Alice became a ghost story. They said if you betrayed the organization, the Bosnian will come. Even rivals spoke his name with caution. He never turned witness, never confessed. No one knows if he's alive or buried somewhere in the woods. All that remains are stories. Stories of a man who lived without mercy or fear. Detectives who studied his case described him as the perfect assassin. No emotion, no attachment, no pattern, just purpose. When newspapers wrote about Taghi's invisible enforcer, no one dared print his full name. Even journalists feared his shadow. A single photograph of him taken years ago circulates online. He's standing behind Taghi at a cafe, face half hidden by smoke. That image alone terrified many who knew what he'd done. Over 20 unsolved murders match his style, but police can't prove any of them. The silence remains his greatest weapon. Some say Taghi later ordered him eliminated, fearing he knew too much. But others believe Alice left on his own terms, vanishing before anyone could betray him. A mysterious letter reached Dutch police in 2023. It read, "You cannot catch a ghost. Stop chasing the wind. No fingerprints, no DNA, only his style." During Taghi's courtroom appearances, whispers spread that Alice was nearby, watching no proof, but enough to make guards double their shifts. Some say he left behind names, a list of enemies he never reached. Others claim he's working secretly for another syndicate now. Even years later, police use his name to scare new recruits in the underworld. If Alice hears your name, they say, it's over. No grave, no arrest, no closure, just silence, the kind Alice always loved. And maybe somewhere, in a quiet corner of Europe, he's still watching.